Joining us now on the MARR Army Rock Show, we are excited to have Greg Ross with us. He is from the band Epic Tantrum, and calling me from my home state of Pennsylvania tonight, but I believe they're originally from New York, so he'll tell us a little bit more about that. They've got a brand new record called Abandoned in the Stranger's Room, came out in January. Greg, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. And yes, we are a band from Syracuse, New York, but I am quarantining down in Pittsburgh for this Corona madness. So, but we are all from Syracuse, and that's where the band is. That's our headquarters, for lack of a better term.
So I'm a little bit new to your band, so if you don't mind, just give me a little bit of the background of you guys. I'm going to ask you about the unique nature of your music in a minute, but just give me a little of the history of how you all formed.
Well, everybody's a little new to the band because this is our first release, and it came out in January. So the band is made up of, there's four of us, and three of us all took lessons from the same guitar instructor in Syracuse. So wow. Peter and Paul, they were the good students. They were the, and so they play guitar in the band, and I was not a good student, so I played bass. And Paul knew our drummer Z from other bands he was in, and they started playing around. It actually started, Peter and Paul were recording classical music pieces together, classical guitar stuff, and they really enjoyed it, so they started writing together, kind of doing like a Becker and Fagan thing where they would just bring inside people, and that's kind of how the band developed. And I joined a few years ago, and sort of the band, it became like a full band, like a four-piece, like a full band, and we started gigging and finished the album, and it just came out in January. And so, new band, so not surprised you're not too familiar, but hopefully when the next album comes out, you're not saying that again.
So, you're a band that has a lot of unique things to them, and one of the first things that's unique is your first release is a double full-length album, and not a lot of bands would do that. People put out a single now. Talk a little bit about that decision.
Well, that's really my fault mostly. I was listening to the studio tracks one day, and shortly after listening to some of the recording of us live, and I was struck by how different the band sounded live as compared to in the studio. And I really wanted people to see both sides of the band. So I kind of convinced or, guilted or, begged, pleaded the rest of the band to do this sort of double CD thing. Because I feel like as a live band, we're a lot more raw than in the studio, and in a way more powerful, or maybe not more powerful, but a different type of power, musically. And there's also a little bit of like, hey, we can actually pull these songs off live, because most of these songs are pretty complex and hard to play. So, and I thought honestly that it was a bit audacious for a brand new band to come out with a double album, and felt like it was a bit of a statement, like, hey, we've got the goods here, and we're showing it off a bit.
Now, my whole life I've heard live albums, going back to, I remember the Rush live albums when they would come out and all. As an artist, I never actually asked an artist, tell me how, is it more difficult to record a live album? In other words, I guess what I'm trying to ask you is, you go into a studio, there's a process. For a live album, is it as simple as hit and play or hit and record when you go to a concert, or is there a lot more go into it?
In this case, we just did 2 sets and ran through the songs and listened back and liked one version better than the other. If it was the song Letting Go, we liked Letting Go from this recording more than the other recording, and we let the studio engineer mix, and that was it. So it was really rather simple for us. I'm sure it can be a lot more complex, and of course there's all these rumors about, adding stuff afterward and bringing in crowd noise from other records. We didn't do any of that stuff. So there was just two sessions of recording, and bang, we were done.
Now, tell us a little bit more about the making of the studio part of the record. Where was this recorded, and who was your producer?
So Paul, who is one of the guitarists and the keyboard player in the band, and one of the good students, unlike me, he has a studio in his house, and we have nicknamed that studio the Stranger's Room. And that's sort of how the album name came about. So we had been working on the first part of the album for a long time, and you can get really into the weeds with stuff, fixing little things that no one else will ever care. And there's some artist who said it, I don't remember who it is, but I'm going to sound pretentious and say, I don't even know, but some famous artist once said, art is never finished, it's merely abandoned. And that sort of became the attitude, like we just have to abandon this and move on. And because we could still be tinkering to this day, and since it's our own studio and we're not constrained by budget and all that, we finally just had to move on. And since so the first half, the studio stuff, is abandoned, and the second half is the Stranger's Room, which is named after our studio. So that's where we practice and rehearse, and he mixed, mastered. He didn't master. He mixed. He recorded and mixed everything, and then a friend of ours mastered the record for us, just to have some outside ears come aboard. But his nickname is Spock because he's really perfect to this, and he loves that stuff.
So a couple songs I want to ask you about. I always like to ask artists about my favorite one once I've gone through the record, and I was drawn to the tune "Fables of Fortune." I really like the guitar riffs in that thing. Tell me more about that song.
Well, the funny thing about that song is the name of that song has changed about a dozen times, and it was originally just referred to as Dum Da Diddle, which was that sort of that, and then we changed the name, and then at the very last second we changed as we were doing the artwork for the album. We changed the name to Fables of Fortune, and one of the reasons we changed the name so much is to confuse our drummer, because he can never remember the names of our songs anyway, so we just changed it a lot. But he came up with the name Fables of Fortune, so we figured he would be able to remember that one, and that's one of the songs that's one of our favorite songs to play, and usually when we play that one live, Paul gets to show off his guitar prowess, and we do there's a section where we just break into he just goes on as long as he feels like soloing, and then when he's done, we have to be Johnny on the spot and jump back in, which doesn't always happen, but we try.
Hey, the other tune I wanted to ask you about was the one you guys got the lyric video out for, is Letting Go. A nice job on the lyric video, first of all, and tell us a little bit more about that tune.
Letting Go is kind of like the song that, in a way, I'm trying to think of how to describe this. Sort of it encapsulated the band's sound. It was our attempt at like a cinematic music piece, and it was our most successful attempt to date. And the idea is that the song is like almost a movie or a script in and of itself. And the lyric video for that was quite a challenge, because I think it's a 6.5-minute song, and the last 3.5 minutes there's no lyrics. So probably not the smartest song we chose to, the smartest choice to make a lyric video for. But it was a lot of fun to make the lyric video, and the first time we played out as a band, we went to an open mic night in Syracuse, and we finished playing Letting Go, and we weren't sure how people were going to react, and the owner of the venue came running up, ripped the microphone away from Peter, who's our singer, and he said, "This is my new favorite band in Syracuse. You guys are play another song." And we just kind of sat there stunned, because we didn't know what sort of reaction we were going to get. So that was a huge confidence boost, and that song is sort of the song that we sort of, like I said, it's the best. It's the best way to describe the band, because we're a very eclectic band, and I think that song kind of encapsulates a little bit of everything.
So that's a great segue into my next question. For folks that don't know your band yet, are going to look you up on Facebook after this. They're going to have to wonder why I'm asking you this. Tell me about the Gilbert Godfried video.
We were trying. So when we did our record release show in Syracuse, we did it in an IMAX movie theater. So we spent all this time putting together all these trippy videos and creating videos to play above us while we played, like below the IMAX video. And we were trying to come up with something that would be, akin to, like if you go see Rush in concert, like they have celebrities come up and kind of And so it was sort of a joke, to try for, us to have a celebrity. And we saw this thing where we could get Gilbert to kind of roast us. And I was sitting in a Denny's. I was on tour, and I got somewhere early, which almost never happens. And I opened up my laptop, and I saw, okay, we can get Gilbert to roast us, and sent in this email. And maybe 10 minutes later, I get this thing back, and it's this video of Gilbert just mocking us and saying we can't play our instruments and all that, which was really funny. And I watched it 3 times, and I'm laughing in the Denny's. I'm like laughing out loud, and people are looking at me like I'm some crazy person. And I'm trying not to explain what's going on, but so that's what it was created for. And then we put it, before the video, and put it up online, just sort of like, hey, Gilbert reviewed our record. As a band, if you listen to our music, we don't appear to have a sense of humor. And if you look at the artwork and all that on the album, you might not realize that we have, a pretty dark sense of humor. And part of being in a band is being able to laugh and have fun. And so that's how the Gilbert thing came about.
I get a sense you're one of those bands, that musicians appreciate a lot, if you know what I mean. You guys have a lot of technical things going on, it seems, in your music. Would that be a fair statement, that when other bands watch you, you're a musician's band somewhat? Is that a weird thing to say, or?
Well, it's a compliment. The thing about being a musician's band is, the joke about if you play in front of a bunch of musicians, you're looking at a bunch of people with their arms crossed staring at you, kind of saying like, oh, let's see what you guys can do, which is, hopefully not the crowds that we get. I think our music is challenging. This is not easy music. This is not run-of-the-mill top 40. It's something you have to listen to and pay attention to. And the first time through, it's the type of stuff you're going to have to listen to a couple times, and then you start to get it. And musicians have much more patience to do that, because musicians are always looking for something new and interesting and exciting. Whereas the average music fan, and this isn't a criticism of anybody, but it's just isn't looking for that. They're not looking to be challenged by their entertainment. So a band like Epic Tantrum is not going to appeal to somebody who is just, looking for music to play in the background in their office. But if you're someone who really is passionate about music, or a musician, which, a musician would obviously be, would be passionate about music, then I think our band is going to be more appealing to you. And I think it appeals, some people are impressed by the guitar playing, some people, the songs. But I do think that, that's why we would appeal more to musicians than the average music fan.
So, I guess, hey, the virus affected all musicians. What did it do to you guys? Were you guys on tour? I've had so many bands on in the last month that, were either one place or another. What was going on for you guys, and what's the impact been for you?
Well, it's been weird. We had a record release show scheduled for New York that got canceled about 2 days before, which was pretty disappointing. And putting out a record with the coronavirus has been a challenge. It's
sure.
We can't go out and play shows, and some of the marketing things that we've done just haven't had any sort of impact, because people are more worried about their health and safety the way the way they should be. So it's been a challenge, but it's also been a unique opportunity in that I think there's been a lot of albums canceled. Albums aren't coming out, so I think it gives a band like us a little bit of a chance to get heard. When because some of the bigger bands are holding off their records for a little while. So and it's also giving us a chance to all write. I feel like we already have a new album written, so. Of course, if the next album takes as long to record as this one, it'll be years before you hear from us again. But so and it's also been kind of nice that we can go on to chat rooms and forums and just post about the band that I usually wouldn't have time to do. So trying to look at the positive side of this instead of bemoaning the negatives.
Hey man, it's a good way. The only way we can really go about it right now. So hey, where do you want people to go to find your music, to buy your music? Where do you want to direct people to learn more about Epic Tantrum?
The best place to find out about us is at our website, which is epictantrum.com. You can also check us out on Facebook, and please, if you have Facebook, please check us out and like and follow us on Facebook. I think we're at Epic Tantrum Band. And if you have Spotify, please follow us as well. And if you go on to epictantrum.com right now and you sign up for our mailing list, you get a free track. I think it's Abandoned that you can download right away. And of course, you can hear the record on all the streaming services, Spotify, Amazon, or YouTube, Amazon, all those different things. So, you check it out, and if you like it, send us a letter, and if you don't like it, you can just send Gilbert a letter and tell him he was right.
Yeah, folks got to get out and check out that Gilbert Godfried video, man. It's pretty cool. Hey, we've had Greg Ross from Epic Tantrum with us. They're out of Syracuse, New York. The new record is Abandoned in the Stranger's Room. And Greg, man, thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you for having us on. We appreciate it, and thank you for listening to the album and taking the time to really check it out.